So how did we get here? I'm not going to take you through every step here, but it is good to have a quick look at this and think about how did ESG actually consolidate? How did it go mainstream? And more importantly, how did we move from what I flagged already, all this voluntary reporting, all these initiatives here that you see from 1997, pretty much up to only a few years back, or even today, you could argue, a lot of this was largely voluntary reporting. You would decide as a company to do it or not, and what you would do exactly. Now, we see that what has happened is that over time, some of these voluntary initiatives, what we see at the top there, CDP, CDSB, SASB, IR, and TCFD, they decided to all consolidate together under the IFRS foundation into what they've set up in late 2021 at COP, the International Sustainability Standards Board, so the ISSB. That is really the driver for bringing a new global standard on sustainability reporting. So they created that. That has come out under the ISSB. So sometimes you hear people refer to that as the ISSB standards. Sometimes you hear it referred to as the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards. And sometimes you hear people refer to IFRS S1, which is that first standard on general sustainability disclosures, and IFRS S2, which is specifically on climate disclosures. So for simplicity's sake, today I'll be referring to it as the ISSB standards, which include those two, the general sustainability and that climate standard. They've come out. Now, a key thing to realize there is there's still voluntary standards. It means that a lot of these voluntary things you see on this slide here, consolidated in the ISSB, they've created, out of all the work that's been done over the years, a new set of global disclosure standards, but they're voluntary for companies to adopt if they want to, but more even so for countries, for jurisdictions to adopt. And that is what we're going to look at today. Those disclosure standards have been created are really the blueprint for global sustainability reporting. And by having them there, what jurisdictions can do is just directly implement them and say, we're going to ask companies in our jurisdiction to report on IFRS S1 and S2, or one of them initially. So without any modification, you can implement that directly. Now we'll see that some companies love to just give it their own flavor and localize them, as they call it. And we'll look at that in a minute. Another key initiative then is what the Europeans are doing. And they're really leading the way in terms of legislation. The Europeans have the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the CSRD. And they have under that the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, the ESRS. They're really the reporting standards, whereas the CSRD is more the directive that tells you what to do, whereas in the standards, it's really specified how you need to do that. That is legislation that is applying to 50,000 companies in the European Union. But with that as well, it's key to keep in mind that that's something that also is potentially affecting foreign entities that have links to Europe. So for today, the most important thing from a legislation point of view is what the ISSB, the IFRS has done, but also to a degree, maybe less so for the Asia Pacific region, but it is good to really keep a close eye on that European legislation, but there is potential that that might touch your business.